Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm going to make sure everything is shared on the appropriate platform before we begin. So give me 1 second. This will be edited out anyway. So then I'll do the proper introduction. Give me 1 second here. Let's look at my posts. I'm still getting used to all of this. Well, I thought it was already shared. Hmm. Am I on the proper platforms? Let me see. House of Kung Fu. It's only on my YouTube? Huh. Give me a second while I share this on Facebook. In 1 second here. Sorry about all this. It's about 1 in the morning. But, gotta get it done. Better late than never. I was supposed to do this a while ago. But things happen when you got children and all that. I'm not going to make that excuse. But it is what it is. 1 second. Let's look at some silk really videos. To prep. No notes. Hashtag silk. Getting the hang of all this stuff. Sorry. Okay. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Ready to go. Okay. Almost ready. Okay. Let's make sure this is the right. Okay. So we can exit out of this, correct? Yes. Okay. Okay. Here we are. All right. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Travis Lee. I am a certified Silk Reeling Qi Gong instructor under the lineage of Yang Jwing Ming through Lisa O'Shea. Okay. And my goal is to play my part in ushering in the new wave of TaiChi and Qi Gong that I didn't create, but I see coming. Right before COVID ended, I got my first corporate wellness gig um, teaching silk reeling, and working at the YMCA really helped me build a strong foundation and understanding the human body. And not just because I took a college course on human anatomy, but because when I was working at the YMCA right before COVID ended, Suma Hospital was in conjunction. They used the same building, right? And they had physical therapists there in the gym. So I got to watch the physical therapists work with the patients, helping them bring them back to health. And so, like the studious student that I am, I was there and I asked a lot of questions. I basically shadowed them. It became their apprentice, more or less. And I got to actually show some of the physical therapists some of my moves to help bring a person back. And they had great comments about it. So that led me to getting my first corporate wellness gig teaching silk reeling. And so I noticed a lot of actual MDs are getting into the holistic field using methods like Tai Chi and Qi Gong and all of those other holistic arts to create their own practice, right? And I believe it's really now time that we use Tai Chi and Qigong to understand the human body, not only just for the sake of coming into the new era, but to create a living, right, and have a more of a legislative body, so we have some respect in our field. Okay, so I know you guys have been waiting and asking for this, to do this dive on YouTube, to check out the Silk Reeling videos on there. Now, I make this not out of some type of competition. That's not my point, But, even Jesus said he came to bring a sword, to separate what's real information, and what's not. In order for us to usher in the new wave of Tai Chi and Qigong, we have to be able not really to separate ourselves, but and not really to stand out either, but to legitimize ourselves and to understand that in order for us to go into the next era, we got to know what we're talking about, and we got to be able to spot out, you know, false information, you know. So that's really my biggest point in making this video, right? Because and for the teachers, there's a lot of great stuff online. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of great stuff online, right? But the problem is that when you learn online rather than learning from a teacher, um, you how can I say this? You miss the process of developing and having a person watch you and teaching you according to what you need. That's where the real learning comes from. A person being able to customize the learning process for you. Because if you're going to teach thousands of people, each person learns different. Each person has their own thing going on before you meet them. And you can't just fit a person into a box. You got to be able to just like water, right? So, that's really one of my main core reasons for making this, is so that people can understand how valuable it is to learn one-on-one, if you can. Not even in a big class, just a one-on-one, So here we go. This is live. I don't have any notes, I don't have any prep. I just did a little bit of silk reeling before I made this. And so it's straight from the soul. All right. You won't see me look down on some paper, none of that. Okay. So let's go. All right. Here we go. So we are going to just go to some of these videos online. So we're not going to watch a person doing a form. We're going to look at some of the instructionals and tutorials on, okay? That's what we're going to do. All right, so let's scroll down. So we got the lady there, we got the man there, and I briefly just checked these out, basic concepts. Okay, so we've got some instructionals going on. All right. Okay, so let's start up here. Right. This is probably if I just typed it in, silk reeling, as you can see, and we're gonna go to the one that has the most views so far, and it's this lady, Karen Sue. All right, so we're gonna check out what Karen has to say, and I hope there's not a big echo when I do this. I might have to mute the screen, so excuse me if that happens. All right, so here we go. So let's go back to the beginning of this because I briefly just clicked on it. Turn this down.
Welcome to our coiling silk or silk reeling Qi Gong exercises. We will be slowly turning parts of the body on an axis to dissolve knotted energy, restoring flow and balance. The movements are slow, gentle, relaxed, steady, and continuous to keep the thread of Qi unbroken.
Okay. All right. So let's start right there. Okay. She just went straight into it, and that's cool, right? But see, here's the thing. With so much free information online, we have to identify ourselves. A person could just tell you anything, right? But who are you? Where'd you come from? Who did you learn under? How long have you been training? Can I trust the information that you're about to tell me? Right? In order to move on into this next era, when you work with physical therapists, when you work with doctors, right? They're going to ask these questions. When I shadowed a physical therapist at SUMA when I was working at the YMCA, these are the type of questions she was telling me that these people are going to want to know, right? Because how it works is when their physical therapy session is done, SUMA, for example, will give them your card, the patient's card, and be like, here, go to him, right? And that person is going to ask, because you know they've got their body, in your care. Who is this person? All this stuff, right? And even before you get to that point, if you're going to work with a credible organization, they're going to ask these questions. You would never just come up and say this to a person that wants to invest in you, and a company that wants to invest in you, or a person who has 10 more people investing in you. You got to be able to identify yourself. So that's the first marker that I have a problem with these YouTube videos. They just jump straight into it. Now, what she said about the silk reeling, I'm not going to say it's a lie, and it does deal with unknotting energy versus regular medical qigong, which works with the tendons and the bones and all that wonderful jazz. Silk reeling primarily deals with the major meridians and channels within the body. That's why the feeling that you get is so fresh when you do it, right? And there's a clear distinction. So, that's cool, right? And it's not just chi with that you keep continual. It's a lot of other things, but chi is a buzzword, so I'm not gonna put a mark on that. Okay. All right. So let's keep going.
We begin in our natural Wuji stance. Our feet are shoulder width apart, toes pointing forward, knees are relaxed. Our feet make good contact with the ground, and we can imagine roots growing into the earth, keeping us stable, grounded, and rooted. The knees are nice and relaxed. We never lock our knees or our elbows in Wuji position, and we relax the pelvis, making sure that the tailbone is also relaxed downwards. The lower dantian, our power center in the lower abdomen, is relaxed, no tension being held here. And we breathe all the way down into the lower dantian. The chest is open, natural, relaxed.
Yeah, what I appreciate about this so far is that she's giving some sort of idea of warming up, which is great, right? You don't want to just jump into something that's real dynamic. So I like that. So let's continue to watch what she's going to do.
Down, and that relaxation carries on down the arms all the way to the fingertips. We also have a space in the armpits so that we can maintain the nice flow of qi from the arm to the body, making sure that we're not limp but actively relaxed. Take away any tension from the neck and throat area and relax and soften the face. You can practice your inner smile to help relax the mind further and release those feel-good endorphins into the body.
So far, so good.
Bring your attention to the crown of the head now, the Bai Hui, the 100 meeting point. And imagine that you have an invisible thread attached to that point, gently pulling you up to the sky. You are open to the heavenly qi, open to the universal light and wisdom. At the same time, you are connected to the earth's qi, feeling anchored, rooted, strong and stable. In this position, we connect heaven and earth, and qi flows in both directions.
Okay. Okay, so this is a little meditation.
Exercise 1.
Okay, so boom, right there. So wait, let's check out.
Arms coming up the center line and circling down. The backs of the fingers face each other and the fingers face skywards. The arms naturally rotate outwards so that the palms face down as you circle the arms down. The legs slightly straighten and slightly bend with the movement.
Okay. So one of the things that I see here, this may be a type of different silk reeling from her lineage or from from what she's doing. But I personally haven't seen a type of silk reeling like this. Because it's supposed to kind of mirror what TaiChi is doing. Maybe this is just a warm up, because there is a type of silk reeling that you do go like this in ours. So let's continue to watch.
Breathing naturally and staying nice and relaxed with the movement. Reversing the movement, circling the arms overhead and then diving down with the hands, backs of the fingers facing each other. Inhaling as you go up, exhaling as you go down.
Okay.
Breathing nice and gently in a relaxed way and keeping the movement continuous and steady.
Okay. So, all right, let's see if she does this though. Let's go to the other
As
ones.
you like.
So this is just a warm up. Maybe these are just still warm ups.
You feel the gentle manipulation of the hips, the pelvis.
Let's go back to this one.
And notice how the body feels. Try to make the transitions between the pelvis being forward and backward as smooth as possible.
Okay. Now this is something good right here, but let's continue on.
Hand coils downwards.
All right. So let's see.
From one. Okay, into exercise 4. Feet can be slightly wider, and we keep one hand on the hip, the other hand faces the head, and we turn to the other side and bring the hand under the armpit and push downwards as we shift away.
All right, so here's number 1, right? The first thing about this, and I'll turn the volume down on this one as she's doing it. So I really, and see, this is the part where learning from with a teacher one-on-one versus a YouTube video is important, right? Now she is doing some movements from Silk Reeling, right? But the thing is that you can't just, number one, go from a still position, right, and describe that, then automatically start doing a dynamic movement, right? That's skipping a step, because what happens is that there is a proper way. There's a proper way to move within Silk Reeling, right? For safety reasons, right? Because you're putting pressure on these because you really never stop doing this dynamic movement, as you can see she's doing, right? And the shifting. You do that constantly throughout the whole form. And if you don't properly know how to shift, and you're constantly doing this, and you're putting excess tension in your hips and your knees and your ankles, and if your knee goes past your foot, you can really injure your knees, right? So even though she's doing the right movement per se, the audience doesn't know how to properly move that way. You see what I'm saying? She just automatically went to the shifting from starting from a still position. And like I just said, if you don't know how to shift properly when you're doing silk reeling, you can injure your knees, right? So again, even though she's doing the right movement, she just jumped to dynamically moving, because when you're doing silk reeling, you're constantly bending and straightening your leg. And if you do that with too much tension and the wrong way, body wise, physically wise, you pass that realm between Qigong realm and fitness realm. Then it becomes a fitness exercise rather than a Qigong modality. So if you don't know how to shift right, and if a teacher doesn't explain to you there's a specific way to shift so your legs don't get sore and your knees don't get sore, because you're constantly bending and straightening and moving. And there's a certain pattern that's just not in the legs. It goes through the body to preserve you. So then you learn how to move dynamically while conserving energy. So I'm going to have to put another mark on that, and I've seen everything that I need to see. If you don't know how to shift the right way, and if it's not explained, it's not safe. Point blank, period. A lot of people misunderstand the fact that Qigong and Silk Reeling is not Western fitness. You can't just start doing it, because what you're doing when you're doing Chinese modalities like Silk Reeling, you're working with the internals. So you have to do that a specific way. So I've seen everything that I need to see on this video. This video is not safe. Okay. So let's go down to this guy. Let's see what he says. Center life of balance. This is the second video, and it's just the one that has the largest views. Here's the second largest views. So let's just see what he says. Okay, so we already established from the last video, it is important to introduce yourself and to learn, get your viewers to know who you are so they can trust you. Because if you work with a credible organization, you can't just say, here's some silk reeling exercises. They're going to want to ask you, who are you? What did you learn for? How long? And do you have any experience? This is the difference between just opening a YouTube video and actually meeting somebody that wants to invest in you. We have to change that in order for the world to take us seriously. All right. So let's see what this guy has to say.
Hey guys, Colin here and welcome to Center Life Balance. In this video, I'm going to give you some short instructions about single-handed silk reeling. Silk reeling.
Okay, so number one, he just jumped straight into the information. Who are you? Who are you? You can't, what's your last name? Who did you learn under? How long? Can I trust the information? This is the second time already that people just jump straight in. Right then and there, you make me raise an eyebrow. It's not a fact of an ego thing. It's so people can trust you. If you want somebody to fix your car, you want to know that that person knows what they're doing. So silk reeling is a assistance for the body. So if you're doing with somebody's body, why is that so different from everything else? I don't understand that. Okay, so let's finish on and see what Mr. Colin has to keep saying.
Is something that is very much part of Tai Chi and not so much part of Qi Gong.
Whoa. Hold on. Maybe he didn't say that. Maybe I'm just pretending. Let's go back and see what the guy has to say one more time. Wait, hold on. Yeah, hold on. Blah.
It's very much part of Tai Chi and
Okay.
Here's some short instructions about single-handed silk reeling. Silk reeling is something that is very much part of Tai Chi and not so much part of Qi Gong.
Okay, so right then and there, man, I'm gonna have to put a big, that's 2 markers on you already. Number one, there's no such thing as single-handed silk reeling. That doesn't exist, because silk reeling is a part of Tai Chi, and like Tai Chi, you use both hands. Now there is a practice within silk reeling that you do use single hand as a practice, but the whole point is combining both single-handed practices and learn coordination, all that stuff. I don't want to give away too much because I'm giving this to you guys for basically no charge. Make sure you guys like this video, okay? Because I'm doing a huge favor for the Tai Chi and Qi Gong community, okay? So, and he also said that silk reeling is not so much a part of Tai Chi, but not so much a part of Qi Gong. I have no idea where he got that from. No idea where he got that from whatsoever. Yang Jwing Ming calls it Qi Gong. My teacher Lisa calls it Qi Gong. Things that I've read, they call it Qi Gong. I don't. This is why it's important to ask questions. Who are you? So we can trust the information that you're giving us. Silk reeling is Qi Gong. It's literally Qi Gong. If it wasn't Qi Gong, then it wouldn't be a part of Tai Chi. It would just be called Tai Chi. Qi Gong, Gong, practice. Qi, you know. So yeah, let's see what else he has to say.
One of the key components for silk reeling is a bit like when you want to pull silk from a silkworm. The idea with getting the silk thread from the silkworm is that you need to pull the silk at a very continuous pace. If you stop and then start again, you break the thread. Also, if you try to suddenly pull too quickly, you break the thread. So with silk reeling, what we want to do is keep the movements continuous and without stop.
Okay, so the typical buzzwords, the typical story. Okay, very very good. Why are you? He looks real nervous, if you ask me. Like he's reading a script, but that could be just me. I don't know. Let's continue on.
I'll demonstrate the movement for you now. For silk reeling, we're going to start with the feet together. Check your body is straight, head suspended from above. We're going to bring the right hand up to the waist like this, and then sinking the weight, we're going to lift the heel of the left foot and bring the left hand up in front of the body like this. Next, we're going to step out to the side. It's important to ensure that the heels are on the same line with this movement. You don't want to have your foot forward like this or backward. It's got to be straight out to the side.
Okay, so here's the thing. Yeah, the first thing you have to establish with any type of silk reeling qigong is the fact that you got to learn how to stand the right way. That's very important, right? Uh, but it's the how can I say this? Um, well, let's see if he does it. I may be jumping the gun, but let's see if he does it. I'm gonna give him some credit, even though he's got two markers. He didn't introduce himself, and he said that silk reeling is not a part of qigong, but silk reeling is qigong. So he's got two markers. So I'm gonna give him some credit, and I'm gonna let him talk and see what he does after he finishes standing, talking about standing and the proper way to get into the silk reeling horse stance.
To the side. So from here, we're going to turn the body and now bending the left leg, shift.
No, 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 my man. No, 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 no. My goodness. This is why you guys, oh my goodness. Look, the first wrong thing you said was turning the body. No, you don't turn the body. You don't do anything with the body per se. Um, just like in Tai Chi, it's not about moving your body, it's about moving one part of the body so it can move another. The kinesthetic movement. Okay? And I'm sure everybody can agree with that. And silk reeling is no different. You're practicing that attribute of Tai Chi when silk reeling, right? When you move in the silk reeling manner, make sure you guys can see me. When you move in the silk reeling manner, yeah, I'm shifting my weight, but I'm not moving my upper body. When you when you shift your weight the proper way, the body moves on its own, right? And, this is why this exercise, this warm up, is very important when you do silk reeling, because I'm not moving my upper body. My upper body moves on its own, and so when you are able to move the upper body on without moving it, you give a chance for those stabilizers, those lungs, that chest to take a break. And even just from doing this, I feel good. I feel like I can breathe in my diaphragm. So it's the same thing when you do the silk reeling. Okay? So you're not moving your body, man, because that's going to cause excess tension. You're using muscular power when you're moving your body. And to not you got to move your root first. That's basic in any type of Tai Chi practice. You don't just move your body. especially when you do silk reeling. You don't move your body because you're constantly dynamically shifting by bending and straightening your leg for almost 20 minutes straight. And you can just feel this right here. Let's just try it. If I move my upper body first to get into my stance, this is constricted. You can feel it right here. And now if I move my upper body first to switch, you feel that there's some tension in my lower back and there's some tension already in my right hip or the straightened hip. Right? Let me sure you guys can see this. See? I should have wore some bright colors. I'm sorry. But you guys can try it. Move your upper body first to get into your bent leg. There's a constriction here. Constriction here. Now, if I move my upper body to get to the other side, there's some tension in my back and in my hip. You don't want that. You just said a continual flow of silk and energy. Well, you that's not true if you constrict the flow. It's almost like, okay, I'm about to pull the silk out, so I'm going to create a knot first. That doesn't make any sense. So you already lost me, bud. You didn't introduce yourself. I don't know who you are, if I can trust the information that you're saying. You already said silk reeling is not part of Qigong when it actually is Qigong, right? And then now you're, without even explaining the proper manner to shift, because like we said in the last video, or that we just watched, if you don't properly know how to shift your weight when you're doing these silk reeling shiftings, when you're constantly bending and straightening your leg, you can cause excess tension, and then you'll move from that Qigong range in your fitness range, because you're basically doing squats then. And that's not Qigong. So when you do it that way, yeah, it won't be part of Qigong. It'll be a part of Western fitness. Okay? So you already kind of lost me, bud. I'm going to look at you for one more segment and see what you got to say, because you're losing me. All right? Let's see what else he has to say.
Straight out to the side. So from here, we're going to turn the body, and now bending the left leg, shifting the weight over to the left. This is the beginning position for the movement. So with silk reeling, for single...
Oh my goodness. No. I'm going to stop it right there. You can't anymore. You did about 3 things that's not safe and incorrect. Okay? The first one, as we go back, oh my goodness gracious. This is what has been going on here? Okay. So number one, like with any Tai Chi or Qigong movement, you got to start being from a relaxed position. Okay, so when you move your upper body first, and the proper way to do silk reeling, like the proper way to do Tai Chi, is to move the root first. If you move your body, you're breaking that first principle. Okay, that's number one. Okay, number two, hold on, what's the second thing you did wrong? Hold on.
This is the beginning position for the movement.
Okay.
So
hold on.
This is the beginning position for... So from here, we're going to turn the body, and now bending the left leg, shifting the weight over to the left.
Okay, so he broke the silk already. The silk's already broken because you separated the upper body from the lower body, right? That's like, okay, I'm going to pull the silk out. If this is the silk, right, and here's the worm, it's like saying, okay, I'm going to pull the silk from here, from the middle part. That'll tear it, right? You got to find the least path of resistance first, right at the root. and then pull it out. So you broke the connection by moving the upper body first and then bending the leg and straighten it. You're not bending the leg and straighten it. I don't know how many times I got to say that. Okay? When you're doing silk reeling, you're not just straightening your leg. Right? You're not just straightening your leg. What happens is you're just nudging it. Okay? When you just nudge it, you can see your upper body will already flow. So you're not really just straightening your leg, because then you will be using muscle power. Muscle power. And it's not Tai Chi anymore, and it's definitely not Silk Reeling Qi Gong when you're using muscle power to generate the movement. Then it becomes a fitness exercise when you do it that way. Okay? So he broke so many, and then if you're going to start with that position from the hand up, you're starting from a place of tension. You always got to start from a place where the least path of resistance is. And starting from a place of tension is not a good idea. Okay, no mention about the Diantan, none of that, how to properly move, how to make sure your knees aren't past your feet or you can hurt your knees. None of that. Right? So, gonna keep going here. Bad, bad, bad. If there's a dislike, even though it can't show up. No. Okay. So let's keep going. There's one I want to look at. This part. Okay. He's got the same visual as I had in the Yang family Tai Chi group. And basic concepts. All right. So let's see what this is all about.
Andrew Plitt here with andrewplitt.com. This is the first video in a series that's going to be looking at silk reeling in Tai Chi. We're going to be talking about what it is, how you practice it, and at the end of this series, after we get through kind of the concepts of it, I'm going to teach you how to do several different silk reeling exercises and then how to incorporate that into your Tai Chi practice. So I'm hoping this will be a very informative series for you all. One of the reasons that I'm making this series is I feel like silk reeling is something that is
I mean, I don't know who this guy is. So again, did not introduce himself. Let's keep going.
.com. This is the first video in a series that's going to be looking at silk reeling in Tai Chi. We're going to be talking about what it is, how you practice it, and at the end of this series, after we get through kind of the concepts of it.
All right, so he didn't introduce himself, so that's already a mark. All right, I don't see anything in his description about who he is. None of that. So how am I supposed to trust what you're saying? You guys got to stop, man. Let's see what else he says.
I'm going to teach you how to do several different silk reeling exercises and then how to incorporate that into your Tai Chi practice. So I'm hoping this will be a very informative series for you all. One of the reasons that I'm making this series is I feel like silk reeling is something that is not explained well very.
The guy, did he even say his name? I don't think he even said his name.
Often. And there's still a lot of confusion about what it is, how it's supposed to be incorporated into training. I've seen a lot of videos out there that are teaching what should be silk reeling, but are leaving out a lot of the important concepts and talking more about exercises to teach silk reeling rather than the concept that should be contained within the exercise that turns it into silk reeling. So hopefully this series will make sense of what silk reeling is, and it will make it more accessible to everyone watching. So let's go ahead and get started. So for those of you who are not familiar with the term silk reeling, you may be wondering what it is and why it's important. And if I was just to describe it really briefly, I would say that silk reeling energy or silk reeling motion is really just spiral motion. And incorporating that into your body is incorporating silk reeling into your motion. And the reason why it's important for Tai Chi training is that without silk reeling, there is no Tai Chi.
Not bad. He actually touched on some very good points. It is spirals. And without silk reeling, you have no Tai Chi. That's a good point. Okay. All right. So he's doing a good job. I think this is just an academic thing. Okay. And he's just reading concepts and talking about it. He has my attention because he has the right photo and he came from a pretty academical standpoint. I still don't know who he is, but I think this is just him talking about a book. Let me see. Concepts and stuff. Hold on.
The source of motion in Tai Chi training, and it's the source of motion in silk reeling. Now, the idea is starting the motion from the lower dantian. You have a spiral that can go up the body, you have a spiral that can go down the arms, and you have a spiral that can go down the legs. You also have a spiraling that can come in up the body, you have a spiral that can go down. Now, the idea is starting the motion from the lower dantian.
Great point. Great point. Do you remember in the last video when the guy just said turn your body? Right? In the last video, this guy said turn the body, and he had his arm in a tight position. But this guy said the right thing. It starts from your lower dantian, right? So he has a good. So far, this video is okay. Even though he didn't introduce himself, I have no idea who he is. He's speaking some good concepts. He has my attention. So we'll go to a video of his of him actually doing it, and we're gonna see if his words match up with his skill. Let's look at this guy. This is more concepts. So let's actually go to on this page. He didn't even introduce his name, which is really interesting. But let's look. Here we go. Let's see. Okay, here we go. So, all right, we're going to start from the beginning. I'm going to mute my mic.
Now for this exercise, we're going to get that wider stance with the feet turned out at about 45-degree angles. We're going to start with one side, and we're going to shift toward that side. We're going to have that inward spiral of.
Oh my God. See, this is how I know these guys weren't taught by a teacher, or they probably went to some sort of workshop or something. I don't know. Because number one, you don't just get into a wide stance. Everybody's stance is different because of different height and different weight. Maybe different pain tolerance, previous injury. And you got to warm up. The first video we watched, the lady warmed up, which is a very good thing to do. This guy, he just gets straight into it. You don't just go into a horse stance or a wider stance. Number one, if your stance isn't right, how you move won't be right. Right? I'm going to say this again for the people in the back. If your stance isn't right, your movement will not be right. All movement starts from stillness. As they say in Tai Chi, stillness contains movement. So if your stance isn't right, your movement won't be right. The proper way to get into a stance is by your shoulder length, how you feel comfortable at shorter length or maybe a little bit wider. You don't even have to have a wide stance. It could be a narrow one. I had a guy who was teaching at the YMCA, and he had to walk with a cane. He can't do a wide stance. His silk reeling was more compact, but you know what? It still worked for him. So if you only know how to do the silk reeling from one stance, is it really silk reeling? Are you really following the principles? It's not everybody can do it from a wide stance, especially if you're not explaining why, right? How much weight do you put on your leg? How is your pelvis? How is your back? Did you get warm up first? Is your knee not passing your toes? Okay. Are you able to move comfortably while in that stance? See how important that is? Just from standing. And all this is really important when you're doing silk reeling because you are constantly bending and straightening your leg, which is a dynamic movement. And if you are not careful when you do dynamic movements, it becomes a fitness routine. You pass that fitness range and that Qigong range into fitness range in your body. There's a specific range that physically through lactic acids and all that wonderful stuff that you can enter into if you're not careful doing the silk reeling. You're not just getting into a stance and straightening your leg. Absolutely not. Okay? Because if you bend and straighten, because you're going to be doing this for a good 15 and 20 minutes. And then you're going to be extremely sore, feeling like you did 50 squats, because essentially you did. All because your stance wasn't right. This is important. So that's a big mark. Let's see what else he has to say.
Of the leg that we're shifting toward and the outward spiral of the other leg. So I'm going to start this going to my right. So my weight shifts to the right. My right leg is doing the inward spiral. My left leg is doing the outward spiral. I'm just going to put my left hand on my left hip so it has something to do while I'm doing this with I'm just going to put my left hand on my left hip going to my right. So my weight shifts to the right. My right leg is doing the inward spiral. My left leg is doing the outward spiral. I'm just going to put my left hand on my left hip so it has something to do while I'm doing this with my right hand. Doing the inward spiral. My left leg is doing the outward spiral. I'm just going to put my left hand on my left hip so it has something to do while I'm doing this with my right hand. My right hand's going to be expanded.
Woo! Woo! The YouTube rabbit hole is deep, man. Deep. Deep and wide. So easy to fall in. Oh my God. I don't even know where to start just from that soundbite. Oh my goodness. Number one. You don't. Number one, if you're going to shift your weight, how much weight? That's number one. Okay. Number two, you don't just put your hand on your hip to have something to do. Traditionally, you put your hand on your diantan. Why? You ask? It's because, like he said in his video, the one this is the same guy. He said all the movements start from the lower diantan. So when you're supposed to put your hand on your diantan to generate and start that movement first. Okay, not for just to have something to do. He literally just said, I'm going to put my hand on my hip so I have something to do while this is happening. Are you kidding me? If you want to put your hand on your hip, you're feeling your hip flexors to make sure your pelvis is tucked, to make sure you're not over tightening. And even before that, you don't start with the spiral. You don't just start spiraling your right leg and your left leg, right? You could cause excess tension in your hips and knees. If you're doing this spiraling, putting extra pressure from your hip flexors and your knees, and you haven't practiced that concept of spiraling to make sure you're doing it in a safe, relaxed way, oh my goodness. And you're constantly bending and straightening your leg, you're definitely going to have some tension by the time you're done. It's a practice. You don't just do a concept and just do it. You have to practice that concept for safety and for understanding and have a gradual process. You can't just throw all these principles all at once and just do it. It doesn't work that way. And it's not going to come out the right way. And it's not going to be ingrained in your central nervous system the right way if you just say, okay, do the principle, right? That's like saying, okay, here's how to skateboard. Okay, now find your balance, find your coordination. Make sure you put your toe on the ground before you do this. Make sure you have your weight centered this way. All this stuff, and make sure you keep your head up, and make sure this is how you break. Okay, go. You're gonna fall and bust your. And trust me, I know. I skateboarded. You gotta practice standing on the board and not losing your balance. You gotta practice being able to push off the skateboard and making sure that you can stay relaxed while you do it and keep your balance. You practice that. Then you practice being aerodynamic with your upper body in movement, so you're not wobbling on the board and you fall off when you're trying to go around stuff or going down the hill or even for tricks. You don't just hop into it and just do concepts. It's not a mind thing. It's a central nervous thing. And having too many principles going on at once, you're not going to be able to focus and not focus at the same time. Okay. And then the last thing you said, just do this. What is this? What is that? Look.
Hip, so it has something to do while I'm doing this with hand on my left hip, so it has something to do while I'm doing this with my right hand on my left hip, so it has something to do while I'm doing this with.
No. What is that? What is this first movement called? What is this? You can't just say I'm doing this and I'm doing that. What is this? What is that? Why is your hand on your hip? How much weight are you putting on your right leg? Right? Is your knees past your toes? Is your pelvis tucked? What kind of spiral is this? Okay? You can't just say concepts and talk about it, and then when you're doing it, just say this. So you're spiraling both your legs, you have your hand on your hip, and you're doing this. That your vocabulary lets me know that you don't understand. You're trying to integrate all these principles all at one time. You got to practice shifting your weight the right way and making sure you're comfortable in the bent leg position. You got to make sure when you move your hand in a spiraling way, it's adjacent to your bones. So the weight that you're having on one leg is set to the ground so you don't overtax your knees and your ankles. You got to make sure there's no tension in your elbow so you don't constrict the chi flow. Because your arm isn't just your arm. Your arm is connected to the, it's the same thing. So you can't just say this. Is your hand relaxed? Are your fingers relaxed? Right? Is your chest, when you move your hand out, does your chest go up? Or is it concave? Because when you're doing silk reeling, you can easily pop out when your hand goes up. When you're doing movement, you can easily pop up. Your chest can easily go out. Your tailbone can easily go up. So you got to be able to move and shift while maintaining the principles that you had when you were still. This lets me know that this guy has been practicing movements, but not practicing the stillness. That's the key. So that's a big for this guy. Oh my goodness gracious, man. You guys are so lucky to have me. What would you guys do without Mr. Lee trying to help you guys sift through all this nonsense, stuff that's not safe, stuff that's breaking the principles that you just talked about? What would you guys do without me? You guys better like this dang video. I know that much. Okay, so single leg, silk reeling, this, that, and the fourth, all that stuff. Yeah, man, I'm not checking out. You're breaking the principles already. There's more concepts. This is doing this. Chen Xiao Wang. There's no need for me to say anything about him. He knows what he's doing. Okay, so let's see. Let's see what this guy says. Nick Lawfree, Sinew Body Qigong. Okay, I think I know who this guy is, so I won't be so disrespectful. Let's see what he has to say. So let me mute my mic.
Reverse directions. Open up through the palms. And let the whole joint open, not just in the wrist, but between every little bone of the hands. And reverse directions. The wrists circle around each other as each hand circles individually the wrist. In Qigong, we call these exercises silk reeling, like spinning the silk out of the silkworm's cocoon.
I mean, that's not really silk reeling because you're only using your hands and your wrists. Silk reeling is the whole body. That's like just moving a piece of the one silk. The silk is all the way. It's the whole body. So I don't know. Let's continue on. See what else he has.
Make the joints strong and smooth like silk. Give your hands a little shake, palms face up. Let the wrists open here. Palms face down, same thing. Let your wrists and fingers relax. Then take your left hand on your right elbow. The right hand is going to go in a big circle, coming up through the hole in the arms.
Okay. But what I do like is that he's warming up. And it's very important to warm up before you do a silk reeling. So I'll give him a bing for that. Okay. Let's skip the warm up and go straight to the juicy stuff. Let's see what he's got to say.
And then out to the side. The left hand stays in contact with the right elbow, swirling in a circle around the elbow joint to create some friction and bring. Shake your left arm out. Then we're going to start to circle the left shoulder. So let your arm relax as we come around the knee and then stand up. Pull the shoulder up, back, and down.
Ah, Mr. Nick, you had me. You had me. Ah, man, you had me. You had me. You were going to be the first video I was going to give some good credit to. But sadly, you got to give you a mark, mister. Only because when you're doing this type of squat and bent movement, you got to make sure you do it what, folks? Safely. You can't just start bending over your knee, especially when you know you have elderly folks practicing this stuff. You got to describe and explain how to do it in a safe way when you're putting the majority of your body weight over your knee. You got to make sure your knee doesn't pass your toes. You got to make sure your pelvis is tucked. You got to make sure you understand how to shift your weight between the front and the back leg for safety. Got to make sure you do that, Mr. Nick. I got to give you an Let's see what else he's got to say.
Say hi to my dog, Kona. You can start with small circles, see if that feels okay. Make them bigger if you want a little more challenge, strength, and blood flow into that joint.
Mr. Nick, you just said if that feels good, but if it doesn't, then what? If it doesn't feel good, then what? I could tell you, but hey, you guys got to pay me for that. And you know, but what if it doesn't feel good? Then what? When you're playing with the knees, man, you got to be careful, especially when you have elderly folks doing this stuff. Not every elderly person, which is probably the majority of people who do Tai Chi and Qi Gong, you can't just start them off with putting the majority of your weight over your knees, especially when you just went from doing hand positions to going automatically to the majority of a person's weight over their knees. It's not safe. So, let's see what else he's got to say.
If you feel any pain from even the small circles, you can just hold still and just circle the kneecap with your hand, as I'll demonstrate here. And again, just think of the friction if you're doing this.
Now he went to that. That should be the first thing you do. Don't go with the hard stuff. Do the safe stuff first. Okay? And that would have been the proper thing to do before you started with the movement when the majority of your weight is over your knee. Why not start with that? Start with the safe knee thing first, then weight over your knee if you need to. Because if you start doing that stuff before you start doing the silk reeling, which is the majority of shifting on that knee, it's not going to be a good thing, man. Sorry. So let's see what else he's got to say.
Bringing more heat and thus blood flow into the joint. Keep a nice long spine. If you need more stretch, you can work it into the calves by lifting the toes and pulling back on them with the fingers.
So we're going to get straight to the silk reeling part because he's doing a lot of warm-ups.
All right, we'll bring that up. And reach forward like you're serving the tea. Over the face as we lean back. And wrap around by the hips as the hips drop back. Locations in there. Feels like indentation. Sacrum. So that's the back of your hips. We're going to press in with the thumbs, send our hips back. Then release the thumbs as our hips go way back like we're sitting in a chair. So thumbs released, hips back. And thumbs pressed like a little massage as hips go forward.
Mr. Nick, you were doing so good, Mr. Nick. You're doing so good. Listen, folks, again, you guys gotta stop playing with people's knees, man, and doing all these squats and stuff. Dude, if you're not squatting the right way and you're not incrementally going down and you're putting the majority of your upper body weight over your knees, you're doing squats, bro. You gotta tell people how to go down this way and then how to come up. You don't just pop up. You got to roll up in an increment way. You can't just start going like this, dude. Are you kidding me? This isn't gym class, man. This is Qigong. And you're practicing the principle of silk reeling before you do the silk reeling. So if you start from a fitness perspective, how do you think you're going to do the silk reeling? Come on, man. Come on. Come on. I'm going to give this guy one more shot. And when he starts doing the movements, we'll see. But if your warm-ups are wrong, man, and you're doing all this hard stuff, dude, it's just, and he's not explaining the tailbone being tucked. He's not rolling up from the spine. He's not adding his diantan, right? None of this. So we'll get to the silk reeling part before I get disgusted.
Nice one to open up the hips, low over the face. Hips back, pull back by the hips. Sweep out and forward and cross over the face.
Oh my goodness. What? Oh. You guys, what in the world is this? Number one, look. No diantan. His back is so stiff. The chi is all the way trapped in his knees and his lower back and in his chest and in his upper torso. There's no fluidity between his back and his legs and his arms. It's too stiff. It's too much muscle power is what I'm trying to say. Look, the proper way, and I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm going to do it. If you're going to do that, right? There's a movement in silk reeling, and I'll show a little bit of it now. When you come in, and then you rise up. I'm doing it in a way where I'm relaxed when I'm bending and I'm coming up. Do you see the difference between from when he does it and then I? My back isn't so stiff. My hip flexors aren't stiff. You see the roll. You see the fluidity start from my lower body throughout my upper body when I come down. You don't see me when you put your weight over your knees, again, you're putting too much tension. And then you got to use muscle power to come up. That's why his upper body is stiff, because you're using muscle power to come up. All the rules of silk reeling is being broken in this. And look, he's doing it again. Look at the rigidity and the tightness in his torso. There's no connection. So before you guys start getting on the internet teaching this stuff, you got to make sure you're trained. It's clearly obvious there is no connection between his torso, pelvis, and his legs. And his shoulders are stiff. I'm sorry. If you look like that way doing the warm-up, I can't tell if this is still a warm-up or if it's actually silk reeling. Because see, here's the thing. The silk reeling follows a certain pattern because it's Qigong. You don't just start doing random movements. It doesn't work that way. You gotta, because you're working with channels. So you gotta open up one channel to open the floodgate of another channel to open a floodgate of another channel. You gotta follow it. And if you don't know where that channel starts to flow, then what are you doing? You're not unraveling the silk, man. You're causing more knots. Jesus Christ, man. I don't know what is this been on there this whole time? What in the world is going on? See, you guys need me. You guys better like this video. I don't know what in the world. You guys. I don't know, man. So that's about 4 videos that we've done of this whatever this is online. We hit the videos with the most views. Next time we will go through some videos that don't have a whole lot of views and see how they're doing, to see if we can find somebody good. I'm going to be doing Mr. Ian St. Clair's Silk Reeling to see how that video is. Okay. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope it educated you guys, is the most. Here's the 3 takeaways I want you guys to take away from this. Number 1, if a person or a teacher does not introduce themselves to legitimize themselves in their training, if a person does not talk about safety first and how the safety is started, if the person doesn't look like the principles they're describing, they can't show you, and if it's clearly evident in their practice, then you shouldn't be listening to them. Now, these are the most views on the YouTube for the Silk Reeling, and each one of them broke all the rules. They broke all the rules. Incorrect knowledge, over tense, breaking their own principles, knee pressure. I just don't know. I just don't know. But here's the one thing that I do know. You guys got me. And in everything that I just described, you can find in my own silk reeling video called Silk Reeling the Right Way on my YouTube channel. So if you want to check me out, you can go to that video that's on my channel, and you can reference check me, the principles that I just described here that should be there. Now here's the thing. I'm not just saying stuff out of thin air. What I'm saying makes logical sense. Safety, introducing yourself, practicing what you preach, should be clearly evident. This isn't something mystical, something esoteric. This is common sense, people. For some reason, that seems to be non-existent when it comes to silk reeling and Tai Chi. Common sense. I don't know why we don't apply that in this art. But as long as I'm around and I ain't going nowhere, we're going to apply that. Okay? Because in order for us to move into the new era where we can make some good money, right, and expand our practice and reach more people, and where we can create a legislative body, I'm going to continue to put out real information about the silk reeling. And you know I'm legitimate. Not only am I certified, but my lineage is within the Yang Jwing Ming lineage. So I hope you guys had a good time. And rewind this video if you need to, and I will be splicing them up and making several cuts, so you guys don't have to go all the way back to the beginning, right? And to get all the information, right? I'll cut and paste and all that jazz. And fair use, of course. All right? You guys have a great night, and Omi To.